Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today and welcome to my podcast studio. Before we start on today's episode, I just wanted to take a quick moment to say I am truly, truly grateful for you being here. It means the world to me and my guest for us to be able to share our conversation with you. If you do like what we're talking about, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. And if we do talk about something that you either agree or disagree with, please put it in the comments. We would love to hear your feedback. Also, please don't forget, I do a lot more than just podcasts. So every Tuesday, I'll put out a drum playthrough. I'll also documenting my journey on writing my solo album, which will feature a lot of guests that have been on the podcast. I'm also putting up a lot of tips and tricks of stuff that we do talk about in some of the podcasts, like insights that I get from some of the guests that share their journey in the music industry. Once again, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And again, please don't forget to subscribe. Let's get into it. There we go. We've got Henry there.
El Capitan.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Loud and clear. Looks like you're in outer space.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's why you're late, man.
I got this default background here. Let me switch it off.
That's wicked. It looks cool. Looks like we're like in a scene from Gravity or something.
There you go.
Are you up in the ISS, Henry?
Just passing overhead, just looking down on you Earthlings.
Yeah, I think everyone's here.
How's it going,
Here.
Stefan? Nice to meet you. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm really honored to have you guys. Like I said, I'm a big fan. I'm a new fan. You know, I've only known about you guys for about 2 weeks or so. But as I was mentioning, as I was mentioning to the other guys as you were joining in, you know, I've gone through your albums. I've listened to them when I've been at the gym. I watched the whole stream you did from Tower of Doom as well, man. That was a really impressive production there. And really cool how you guys sort of managed to pull off a super well organized concert, you know, during lockdown. So really, really awesome, man. So again, yeah. So thanks so much for coming out here. As I mentioned as well, it's the first time I've had this many faces on. So so it's gonna be interesting to see how everything goes with this many members on the stream, man. But again. Good to have you here, man.
Thanks, man. Likewise.
It's an honor.
It's great to be here too, man. Cheers to that.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. So how is everything going at the moment? Because again, you guys have, I know from some of the other bands I've had on that, you are back in lockdown again, and how has that been? How has that sort of affected everything you've been up to?
I'll go first.
Yep.
It's been more than a year that me and the guys, we miss playing live for everyone. We miss the bar gigs. We miss the concerts, the huge festivals. But on the other hand, we sort of discovered some things in us that made us realize that we can be more than just musicians. You know, like Henry's a captain. He's a pilot.
Wow.
Right now I'm enjoying cooking. Yeah, I'm enjoying cooking right now. So and I believe that I'm really getting good at it. And you know, and well, some of the guys too have been busy with some things. So yeah, it's been pretty good. And I've been in my downtime. I get to practice guitar even more.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
keeping the chops alive.
yeah.
Fantastic. So
that's it. Yeah, and spending time with my dog too.
good stuff. Is that the guy we can hear in the background?
No, that's from outside.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned you picked up cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, wicked.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
So is this something you've been passionate about before as well, or?
Yeah, even before the pandemic started, I've been diving myself into cooking. So me and my partner Fids. So yeah, and getting passionate with it. I'm enjoying.
Fantastic.
I'm falling in love with cooking. I mean, like good food, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Life's
I'm
too
a
short.
customer actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my lunch was
the-
my lunch was made by John. This has come from him.
Oh, really?
yeah.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. You're welcome, man, and thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome, man. So how does it work? Like, are you just have you set up like a food business? Like, since are you doing deliveries, anything?
Yeah, it's an online thing. We get to market our food before we cook it, and then people will just order from us, and then we just buy from a number of orders, so no food is getting wasted.
Wow.
And
So
yeah,
wow.
online, just online,
Zero
everything's
waste.
online.
So
Yep.
you literally started your own cooking business out of lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not just that you picked up a hobby. You actually started a business.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well
Yeah,
done.
it's awesome. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah, wicked. What about the rest of you?
Actually, in the band, Stefan, is that how I call you, Stefan, or is it?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
How do I pronounce your name?
So Stefan, Stefan. There's so many ways to do it. Or Steven, which is kind of like my artist name. But yeah, either way, it's good, man. I'm easy.
Has anybody ever called you Steph? Like
Yeah.
Steve?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can call me Steph. That's like the nickname version. Please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like in the band, there's so there's 5 of us, and 3 of us, like me, Martin, and Andrew, we have day jobs, whereas John and Russell, you would consider sort of your full-time musician.
Oh, Henry, we're losing you.
Yeah. There's a bit of a bad connection at the moment.
It's literally breathe music.
Henry. What's going on?
He's back in outer space.
Hen, we're losing you.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Sorry about that.
That's not all good. Good to hear you still here, man.
Yeah. So yeah, in the band there's me, Martin, and Andrew. We have day jobs, and whereas John and Russell, they are your basically your full-time musicians. So they eat, breathe, sleep music, which is really awesome thing to be able to do in the Philippines. But the pandemic has kind of hit, I mean, not just regular workers hard, it's also hit the music industry hard. So
Absolutely.
it's really cool how John and Russell have kind of adapted to our new realities, and John and Russell, not just John, but Russell too, has started his own business from home, right, Russ?
Yep. I'm a coffee pusher.
Oh, wicked.
A drug dealer.
Yeah. Coffee pusher, man.
Oh, I was about to say, like, you and I are gonna be great friends. I'm a big addict.
Oh, no way, man. That's awesome.
Cheers, man.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
I drink like two or three mugs for breakfast, pretty much. You gotta get the hype.
There's no better way to start your day there.
No, there's not, man. I actually, the bass player in the cover band, I mean, he's the same. He's like a super high end barista, and like tells me all about how you have to grind your coffee and roast it at a certain degree, and like he flies to. He used to fly to Brazil and handpick the beans he wanted for his shop and stuff. Like he's like super.
Oh man, that's hardcore, dude.
Yeah, I know, like a super coffee connoisseur, man. But tell me more about your coffee business. That's wicked.
Well, I basically I just get I have this buddy up from the highlands in Tagaytay. It's about a 45-minute drive away from where I live. He just ships down the beans to me, which is cool though. Yeah, beans. He could either grind it for French press or espresso or for the drip type. Currently have like about 5 different types of roasts. He's got like the whole Arabica thing going on. He's got a medium roast. We've got medium roast Arabica. We've got dark roast Arabica. We sell robusta beans as well, and some flavored roasts. We got like hazelnut, butterscotch, vanilla, and recently we started growing excelsa beans, which I think is like uh, it's not really for everybody, but I guess a lot of people who likes fruits, they'd probably enjoy it better because it has that fruity aftertaste. But my
Nice, man.
favorite one so far, yeah, my favorite one so far is the hazelnut and butterscotch because they really kicks you in the ass.
That almost sounds like a dessert. Like it sounds like
Yeah,
something you'd look forward
yeah, it
to
is. It
having
is.
after a meal or something.
Yes, yes. Like right now, I'm having some butterscotch myself, and it's really sweet. It has that sweet aftertaste. It's yeah, and it gets you pretty good. Right off the bat, just like kicks you in the ass. Like, wake the fuck up.
Yeah. That's
Good
wicked, man.
morning.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the business is called Rustman Coffee because I didn't know what else to call it, and I've been selling to some friends and some other coffee lovers out there, like whoever like
Yeah, to me.
digs it. Yeah, to Martin, to Henry too, and Tower of Doom, the Tower of Doom crew. They enjoy the coffee so much. They order beans by kilos worth, like every month. Tower of Doom is powered by
Russman.
my beans, by
Yeah.
Rustman Coffee, which is cool though, because like what I find, I've sort of tried to compare different types of beans grown from all over the place. I just found out about this, like growing coffee at higher altitudes actually reduces
The
the
acidity.
the end, yeah, the acidity of the end byproduct. So it's not so harsh on your stomach, like for those people who experience like for people with like hyper acidic stomachs or like with GERD or whatever. It's
Wow.
it's it's better for them. Yeah, because I don't know, for some reason high altitude and the fresh mountain breeze sort of affects like the whole process of like the growth of you know the plant itself. So yeah,
It's so crazy. There's actually that much science to it, isn't it? Like you can
Yes.
actually
I
sort
know,
of
right? I
yeah, like
know. It's like
define everything. Sort of
yeah,
like
it's crazy. I mean, like aside from music, um, like me getting into like just 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 rabbit holing through like the art and science of making coffee is just it's awesome. I mean,
yeah.
who doesn't like coffee? I know there are people who prefer tea over coffee or whatever, but I don't know, man. I
Who
can't
are
live
those people,
without
man?
coffee.
Who are they? Like we don't we
The pro-
we don't talk
and the
about
process
them.
of making and the process of making your own coffee is also therapeutic. Even
Yeah,
grinding the
exactly,
coffee beans itself,
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
yeah.
you're
aroma and
right.
everything.
You're
Like
right.
I got like a manual grinder here at home. It's just I don't know. There's like you can like say a mantra while you're doing that thing. Just grinding that.
My wife actually gave me one of those hand grinders things, and I don't know, for some reason it didn't really work. Like it became way too coarse. Like the beans, it didn't turn into real powder. So we actually had to go back to like
Oh,
an electric grinder after. But yeah,
well,
I actually do agree. Like by the time you put the beans in and you started grinding, like it just felt good. It's like, oh yeah, like I'm doing
Yeah.
yeah.
something
There's like
rather
that.
rather
There's
than just
like that
pushing a button.
satisfying feeling, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There's like
absolutely, man.
that satisfying feeling. But the thing is, like, doesn't your manual grinder have like those adjustment
Yeah,
Yeah,
but like,
knobs
look,
where like
I
the
was about to,
coarseness of the
yeah,
beans?
Yeah, so it had you could sort of like you adjust it up and down again to adjust the coarseness. But I mean, truth be told, I think she bought it more as like it was a nice little gimmick to have. I think it was like a cheaper like a cheaper version.
Oh yeah,
so you get what you pay for, man. So
oh yeah.
But even putting it in the electric grinder in the morning is still a nice feeling because like it's fresh
Yeah.
and you take the lid off after and you can smell it.
Yeah, you can just smell it, right?
Yeah,
It's just awesome. It's awesome. It's like coffee is like pure love there, man.
Yeah, it is. So your passion for coffee and your knowledge about it, is that something you had prior to COVID, or is it something that has evolved? Because obviously, if you're saying you started the business during lockdown, then I'm guessing you would have had like some sort of knowledge about it prior.
Well, I always loved coffee. I mean, I've had my first cup when I was like 5 or something. I'd sneak into my dad's cup like as a kid and like, this smells so good, and I'd like take a sip. So I've always sort of been like a fan of coffee. Like coffee's just been around me like growing up, and it was just recently, maybe shortly before lockdown, when I sort of started like getting into deeper about like the curiosity. I had to scratch that itch up in my head. But before, maybe a few years back, I just found out that there wasn't just one type of coffee. So you actually have the Robusta beans and the Arabica beans and like so on and so forth, and yeah,
So
it's just been
it's just grown. So it's just grown from there. Yeah.
it's just grown from there.
There's a
And,
local
the
strain
lockdown
called
just-
Barako.
There's
Yeah,
also
Barako. That's Barako.
A local
okay.
strain.
Oh,
Yeah.
wicked.
It's like
It's really strong.
like our own version of Robusta. It's like
There we
a
go.
sweeter version of Robusta, but it's a totally different. It's like I don't know how it came to be. I don't know how folks up in Batangas figured it out, because it originated from the place in the Philippines called Batangas. The Barako coffee. It's strong as fuck though, and it's really bitter as hell. But some managed to grow him and make him a little sweeter.
Mm.
It is a tad bit sweeter than Robusta, but it just doesn't kick you in the ass. It throws you off the wall, man.
That sounds like my style. I love espressos. Like I love the really strong coffees. The ones that really
me too.
gives you the shakes.
Oh yeah, me too, man. I love the strong, the really bitter kind of coffee. It wakes you up.
Yeah,
That's what I love.
You need.
And then I
that.
just started learning from Russell. That all the whole acidity thing, because so I started buying coffee from Russ, and then I realized I'm getting a lot of acid reflux from the coffee that I was buying. And so Russell taught me about which strains were not good for your acidity, and I figured out that this Barako is actually pretty good. It's strong, but it doesn't give you all the acid reflux. I call it Barack Obama.
That's fantastic, man. That's okay. So is it possible for people outside the Philippines to buy it? Like, so if I wanted to buy something, like, is it possible for you to ship it to Australia?
I'm pretty sure. I haven't really tried it exporting outside the country. I haven't even tried exporting outside Manila.
Challenge accepted. I'll buy some from you, man. So we'll have a chat after the show, man. Yeah, we've got to try it out.
Right. Yeah.
Represent some Faspitch coffee here, man.
Cool. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man.
Sure.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
And I want your strongest stroke, man. I'm
All right. We can arrange something extra special for you.
Yeah, sounds good, man. I need it.
Yeah. Sweet.
What about
Yeah.
you, Andrew? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I'm one of those guys who has a day job.
He's a money lender.
No.
He's a what? Sorry.
No.
Money lender.
Ah, finance man. He's the
It's a
accountant.
joke.
I'm a loan shark. No, just kidding. I'm into digital marketing. Yeah, I've been employed. I've had a day job for more than 10 years already.
Yep.
So I'm really more into again, digital marketing, advertising, branding, things like that. And recently, since I've had more time at home to study things, I've been studying a lot on running businesses, investments, a lot of the grown up stuff like foreign exchange, stuff like that.
Right.
Of course, since we have a lot more time in our hands now, and I don't spend a lot of time in the office, I get to have the opportunity to learn a lot more on music and just generally things to improve myself, not just musically in my skills, but more on the way of living.
Yep.
Managing myself. So yeah, there are those things. And then I also co-run a small studio here in the Philippines called Glasstone Studio, which we are very lucky that is still up and running today. It's just very limited. Most of the businesses here in the Philippines, sadly, not in the industry, but a lot of small businesses here in the Philippines had to close down because of small or very small foot traffic coming in. A lot of customers are not going outside anymore, and unfortunately, the studio business is one of those businesses that got hit directly because we depend on people visiting our venue. So we're very lucky that we are still up and running today, and that studio has been running for around maybe 3 or 4 years. So those are the things that are keeping me busy, aside from of course doing my daily. I have actually more time right now to practice my instrument. Before, when everything was pretty busy, I only get to play the drums like once a week, or maybe not at all.
Right.
But now I play every other day.
So have you got the option to practice from home, or do you have to go to the studio?
Yeah. No. I have my drum kit here at home.
Yep.
So I had to do some modifications to make it more quiet. Unfortunately, the drums isn't the most quiet instrument amongst all the instruments, I guess. So I had to do a lot of modifications to my drum kit, like change the heads so it will be silent, muffle the cymbals, stuff like that. Yeah, and those are some of the things that I also learned throughout maybe these almost year and a half of being on that lockdown.
Yeah.
It's just maximizing all of my resources in order to improve my craft.
That's wicked, man. Yeah. Drums aren't exactly.
Yeah,
sort of
second
like
emotion in the part of taking good care of ourselves. Man.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like you got to stay mentally fit in conditions like this as well, man.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So, and how about you, Martin?
Yeah. My day job is I'm a sound engineer in a company called SDI, and basically our company is subtitling, dubbing. I do mixing.
Okay, cool.
Okay. You mentioned you're from Denmark. We had a sound engineer from Denmark. His name is Simon Elgard. Came to visit us like a few years ago, and he taught us how to mix 5.1. basically I'm a sound engineer. Doing audio mostly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how obviously if that's so that's mostly live. Is that live sound you're doing?
No. It's post production.
Okay.
Like,
Cool.
Like we translate one show from one language to another, like from English to Thai or from English to Bahasa Indonesia, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that. I do mixing.
So I suppose you might have been able to still work through the pandemic then if you can work from home and do that.
Yeah, like every other week I have to go to the office.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
That's cool, man. Look, but it sounds like you haven't you've still managed to sustain some sort of income, like whether you've been starting your own businesses or whether you've had to do like a little side hustle or still be able to do your day job, but in a remote or reduced area. But in regards to the music, how has that affected the band as such? Because obviously, if you haven't been able to play any gigs beside that live stream, have you noticed a big impact on your fans or yourself as a band?
Well, the biggest impact is that you haven't been practicing as much, especially lately. Usually we practice at least once a week or at least once in 2 weeks. So, but yeah, Andrew's right. We've had more time playing on our own, in our own homes, because we have no choice. We can't go out.
Just to add to what Martin said, the overall effect on us bands, not just us, but also with our brother bands here in the Philippines, is that we've had less time to be together. That's the downside, but the opportunity that we saw there and we experienced ourselves is we got to learn more about digital production, writing music. We've the trade-off there is we were able to write more music. At least for us, for Faspitch, we were able to pass around a lot more new material amongst us, just because we've had more time to think. Back when everything was normal, we were busy, particularly with Russell and John. They were very busy with touring, so getting ourselves in the studio was also a bit of a challenge back then because we had to consider their health because they just came off from touring, and then our time together is very restricted. We have to meet you have to make a particular schedule in advance. But yeah, we these days we've been writing digitally. I think all of us that are all these four guys, they're very familiar with a digital production software. So it was I guess right now I don't know with the other guys, but songwriting is much faster during this year. Just we've produced a lot more material than the regular normal that we had previously.
And that's because you've been able to work remotely, you reckon?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
We've learned how to write on our own more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So have you all got home setups? I can see John has got some studio equipment in the background there, but have you all got some?
I do.
So you all have the opportunity to record parts at home?
Yeah.
Oh yes, we
Me,
do.
John, and Russ. Me, John, and Russ.
There we go. Oh yeah.
There we go.
The string
There's the
guys,
Pro
so
Tools.
we can record our parts.
Yeah. We all have our jobs in the band. Like these three guys, our string section guys, they're the ones in charge of the overall production, while me and Henry are into the communications, marketing. What's the next thing that we're gonna do? The both of us really discuss the PR stuff and the big projects that we're gonna plan for the next year or month or so.
Wicked, man. So Tell me a bit more about that, because that is something that, again, I do hear from bands that are super well organized, that they're really good at putting like a responsibility to each member. So I'd love to hear a bit more about that, how that works, and how and if you've got any sort of good experiences from that. So again, so if you're saying that you're looking after the PR side of things, how does that work for you? Like what's your responsibilities, and how has that improved the band?
Henry.
Henry, yeah.
Hello, Henry.
Why do you have to bother me, Andrew? Sitting here chilling, listening to you guys. Yeah, well, no, actually, Andrew is, the guys are really correct with what they're saying. The whole pandemic has kind of shifted our focus from, so before the pandemic, we were very sort of gig focused. And after that, we kind of shifted our focus to our individual improvement of our individual skills and songwriting. And from there, we kind of learned, maybe it's because of the frustration of not being able to practice together. What happened was it kind of brought out all of our individual songwriting efforts. So during the pandemic, well, before the pandemic, instead of our old songwriting process, which was Russell would show me a riff, I'd kind of go through his riffs, and I'd say, oh, I like this riff. I'd make a vocal melody to it, and then we'd work from there. Instead of that old, what happened was during the pandemic, Martin, John, Russell would just email me a bunch of riffs, and then I'd like, oh, I like all of these riffs. Let's work on all of them. So the pandemic has kind of sort of brought out all the creativity from these guys, which is really awesome. Like in 2018, 2019, we recorded maybe 3 or 4 songs. And then now we kind of have the equivalent amount of songs ready in just a span of months, just because staying at home has allowed us so much time to get this creativity. And yeah, sort of the roles and responsibilities that we used to have, or we have, isn't something that we intentionally decided on. It just kind of it just so happened that Andrew is very professionally focused on marketing. It's his day job.
Yep.
So his skills are really, he has the skills to do all the social media stuff. And since I've been handling all the social media stuff before he joined, I got a lot of good advice and a lot of good tips from him. And so I integrated him into that part of the band as well. So it's me and him doing all the social media, marketing, all of our Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that. And then Russell, John, and Martin are more of our technical side. So Russell works on all the backing tracks. So when we have a gig, we have our whole in-ear system, which we have backing tracks and our click tracks. So Russell produces that.
Awesome.
And John also records his parts, sends them to Russ, puts them on the backing tracks. So those are sort of the roles and responsibilities that we have. Intangibly, I guess you could say that Martin and Andrew bring sort of the young energy to the band. Me and Russell, we kind of we bring sort of the old Faspitch flavor, since me and Russell are basically sort of the 2 original members.
Okay.
And then John is like our wise wizard.
Nice.
So he's
Yeah. John's our police. He's our policeman. Like when we would write stuff, he would be the one to say, "No, take that one out. Put this in. No, change this one." And then like that. So he polices all for work, QAs everything.
Yeah, cool. And you guys are and you're happy with him and trust him to do that? Or have you got any like comments on that every time that happens?
Maybe
For me,
when
I
we
just
are
trust.
younger. Yeah, when we're younger, I guess. So if we were younger, maybe that'd be an issue. But right now, I think we're all grown ups and mature enough to take in what we think is bad or good for the song. But whatever
Yeah.
that works for the song, that's how I police stuff. So
Yeah.
since to be honest, to be in a heavy metal band, I'm not so metal. So that's why I do my policing. So I think on this part we're doing too much. Yeah, so we have to take that out, take it down a notch. So yeah, more like producing what we are doing. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the old man's job. So yeah.
Cool. Well, look, it's really cool to hear that you have that sort of very DIY approach to it. Like you do a lot of it, or most of it yourself. And again, like it looks super professional as well. Like both the skin and the new single Pain. Like when you're looking at the videos and the graphics and covers and all that, like it looks top notch. So if you're doing all that yourself, like that's super impressive.
Tower of Doom also
Not-
helps with
not-
producing.
Yeah,
They produce as well.
Yeah.
So
They also help with the parts.
so what's their role? Like, what's their integration into?
They kind of handle
Faspitch? Did you want to go, John?
Well, Tower,
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I said so.
Do you want to say that again?
So
What was the question
yeah.
again?
So my question was, Tower of Doom, what's their role in the like, how are they integrated into Faspitch? Like, what's their responsibility?
Oh, they're like our
They're like our label.
call it
Okay.
label. Yeah,
Yep.
they make
They're
sure
the
that
label and
our
the studio.
music gets in. That they get our music across, like through Spotify, Amazon, TikTok, and other music platforms where our music should be heard. So and they also help us with the music video, and that's where we record our music. We record there for free.
Yeah. Cool.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I guess from the other things that Tower of Doom does for us, and which is a really big help to our songs, so to all of our releases actually, is they're the second degree. They're the second policeman. So
Nice.
it's all yeah, because of course when the five of us work on our songs, it's hard to see and hear nuances of things that work or don't work. So what they do is after we record our songs there, one of the head guys or someone else who hasn't heard the song or hasn't been part of the production comes in, listens to the song, and then tells us what works or what doesn't work. And for all of the releases that we've done, they've had a lot of touches on those songs. A lot of those things that they did actually worked, and we didn't realize that they would work.
Right.
So these things that they do for us are pleasant surprises, and they never fail to surprise us every time we do something, and then they make these little changes.
Mm.
Tower of Doom's kind of like the sixth band member in a sense.
Yeah.
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 So they're our record label. They're also a recording studio, so that's where we record all our stuff.
Yeah.
They're also a production outfit. So our first video, Skin, was shot with an external crew, but produced by Tower of Doom, and they edited parts of the video. Our second and third video for Flame, and the new one that we released for Pain, was shot and produced by Tower of Doom. So without them, basically none of the really cool stuff that we've done would be around. We're really grateful to have them. And part of the reason why we got in touch or got under the wing of Tower of Doom was because of our management group. So the guys that are emailing you, Steph, and who connected us so that we could be part of your podcast, the Nemesis Management Group, are also the same guys that book our gigs, They got us sponsorship deals. They also they got us in touch with Tower of Doom, which is really awesome because all of our new stuff is recorded under Tower of Doom. All of our merchandise is with Tower of Doom. Music videos and audio videos, all our sort of YouTube presence is with them ever since 2018, and they've done a fantastic job. We're really happy. And Tower of Doom's kind of an enigma in the Philippines because so they're the brothers, the Perlas brothers that founded Tower of Doom, are essentially rock and metal people.
Mostly
And-
metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Eric
Wicked.
Metal
Perlas
roots, metal.
is part of
In a
like
band.
one of the coolest metal bands in the Philippines before, a band called Cog. I don't think they're active anymore, but they're considered like one of the forefathers of metal in the Philippines. Amazing band.
Nice. Wicked.
But even though they're a metal group and they're a rock group and everybody that's employed by Tower of Doom are rockers at heart, they also create some really amazing and produce some really amazing pop music. So
Oh, really?
like one of the biggest pop one of the biggest pop groups in the Philippines, called December Avenue, is also under Tower of Doom. They record their stuff there, music videos done there. So so they really they have a 360 perspective on all the music that we record. So when we record there, they even though it's metal and rock, they kind of bring a pop perspective to it also, which really helps. So, and it really helps, especially if you're singles based sort of releasing. So for example, like they'll say, oh, let's cut this bit out. Let's take this bit out. It makes it too long. Or let's just make the song a little bit more compact. 'Cause that's better for Spotify. That's better for YouTube and stuff like that. So they bring that kind of perspective to it also.
Yeah. But what was I had a question before. So in regards to that, like the last couple of singles you released have this very international, very like big commercial rock sound. So is in regards to like influences and sort of how you approach the songwriting, what sort of influences would you have when you're actually writing the songs?
Well, for Skin, for Skin, honestly that took a little bit of time to like create over maybe in the span of 3 years. It was just I came up with the idea of like having like a sort of gentler approach, like coming off from like the post-hardcore feel, like to the older stuff. Just because like maybe in the past decade or so, I've been listening to a lot more like technical progressive music, like bands like Monuments, Periphery, Tesseract, stuff like that.
Wicked. I love Tesseract.
Yeah. Oh man, who does it? they're just awesome. So yeah, I came up with that riff, and then I showed the guys, and they were like, hey, that's quite different. Let's like take let's put like a little bit of let's have a Faspitch spin to it. Okay,
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, and then I think John came up with the bridge riff there, or was it Martin? I don't really.
No.
Who was it? Who was it?
Turas.
No, the bridge riff. Who came up with that? I don't really remember.
Put your hands up.
Which one?
The bridge riff. I think that was you, right? That was you, John, diba? That was you.
I don't know
Nah.
if that was me.
No, it's Russ.
I did it.
That was you.
It's
Yeah.
my fault.
Trust,
I did
and we kind of just adjusted it to, I don't know, for it to work for all of us. And the last part was me.
Yeah, the last part was you. The last bit was you. Yeah,
Last
the
part
last
of the
bit was
bridge.
you.
Yeah, but
Yeah, like the
to add what Russ was saying, Skin was hard because it was the first song that we worked on together with this lineup. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
we kind of adjusted to each other. Like
It was like the getting to know you.
yeah.
Mm.
So getting to know you song for all of
But,
us for this lineup.
but it worked out well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Worked out pretty well. And from that song, I guess that's how we discovered our parts in the band, like what to do. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's it's
So
it's
you were
true
saying,
though.
Stefan.
I was about to say it's true. Like you can kind of hear that the last three singles has sort of taken almost like a slightly different direction. The production, in my opinion, has gone up a notch as well compared to the album. So it's really cool to hear how you sort of draw influences from bands like Tesseract, because when you listen to the rest of the stuff, it doesn't. It wouldn't sort of remind me of like Monuments and Tesseract, but I can certainly hear the elements now when you're talking about sort of like the more the gentian, the more sort of mathematical approach to the riffs and stuff. So, but it's also like it's wicked to hear how you sort of like you all contribute to the songwriting, so it becomes like more like a collaborative approach to it as well.
Yeah.
So
Case to case basis. Yeah.
Yeah. And in regards to the actual,
if there's a cool drum riff. Yeah.
So, and I was about to say, like, in regards to the actual audio production, like to the final, to the final layer, like by the time you actually hear the song, like the production on the last couple of songs sounds, as I said before, like sounds so cool, like very, very international. So have you guys got anything? I don't know. That's probably more a question for Tower of Doom. But is there anything sort of in the cards for maybe the next year or the year after, by the time hopefully COVID opens up? Are there any sort of plans to maybe try and push you guys overseas as well, to try and get you over to maybe Europe or Australia?
That'd be a dream, yo.
Oh man,
that'd be a dream.
We'd love that.
Yeah,
we'd love that.
Because
that would be awesome.
Because again, like it's certainly music that I could see would go very well with, for instance, like a band like the new Seven Dust album has got like, in my opinion, a very sort of similar tone, like quite aggressive riffs, but again, it has the clean voice as well, so it has that really good blend. So I could easily see you guys tour with a band like Seven Dust, for instance. I think a lot of the audiences would dig your music as well. That was just a band that just came to mind. Yeah.
Thanks, man. If someone invites us, we wouldn't say no.
Awesome. Oh, that's Seven Dust, man. Who wouldn't say no?
Yeah, but maybe we're unconsciously setting ourselves for that level, because why would we write music like this in such a way that it would be at par to international artists? I mean, like, maybe that's an unconscious dream right there. So maybe soon enough we get to go out, go outside the country and share our music.
Yeah. Have you played any gigs overseas or outside the Philippines?
Yeah.
Russ and Henry.
We've done.
I've been.
Well, just to give you a little bit of a backstory, Stefan.
Yeah.
So we've been around for quite a while. I mean, 2021 is unofficially our 20th year as a band.
Oh wow!
But I mean, I was 9 years old when we started the band, so I'm still pretty young. I'm just kidding. Yeah, we've been around for quite a while, and just like, and what I meant as what I said before. So yeah, there originally were four of us, and then I think a year or two after we had formed, Russell came on board, and I think we'd only had sort of one composition at that time, and we were just young, angsty teens. And so that was our first album. So Russell was part of our whole first album, which we released in 2006. And then after we released our first album, we moved to Manila. Since we're not really from Manila, Stefan. So we're from right now we're living in Manila. We're living in the capital,
Yep.
but we're originally from a town down south called Cebu City. And but because in the Philippines, sort of most of the media and corporate and most of the audience is centralized in Manila. If you wanted to make it in the Philippines as an artist, you had to come up to Manila. So we did that. We took the leap. We came up to Manila. We started touring, gigging, promoting our album. We shot a few music videos. We shot one music video in Manila, one in Cebu, and then we started recording our second album while we were doing this. And that's kind of when it hit home that being in a band, professionally touring, being away from home, and at that age, we weren't particularly responsible about the things that we were doing. It was actually a really hard thing to do. So before the second album finished, it kind of things kind of fallen apart a little bit. So we'd lost our original drummer. Some of us wanted to go home, and so I think about 2009, 2010, most of the band went home except for Russell. So Russell stayed, and that kind of marked sort of a hiatus for the band. We'd all decided, okay, let's take a break from this. We finally managed to muster up the energy and the motivation to finish that second album. It was basically done in 2009, 2010, but we didn't release it until 2014.
Wow.
And then after we released the second album, it was a cool release actually, because we released it and then we fronted for this American band called Issues, which is really awesome. And after we released it, a few of the other band members had some real life things that needed prioritization, and they decided they were going to fall away from the band. Sort of a gentle leaving. It wasn't, there wasn't any disagreements or anything. Basically, our original bassist and our other original guitarist decided they wanted to focus on their work, their life, their family. And so that just left me and Russell to continue things. And so we slowly started. We brought Martin on board, and then from there we got Andrew, and then we got John. And so John has always been an old friend because when we first released our first album, we released it under a record label in Cebu called Lighter Records, and they were basically the same label as John's band Urban Dub. So we're basically label mates with his original band, and now it's evolved even more because now the vocalist of his band Urban Dub is our manager now. So we're still part of the same family.
Oh, cool.
And then Martin and Andrew are from another band in Manila called Diachroma. Also a really awesome band. We can send you some links. You can check them out.
Yeah, please.
And,
I've written down Cog and December Avenue as well. I'm going to check them out as well.
So Martin and Andrew, really lucky to have them. And so our original way of writing music was, with the original band was, our original guitarist, Patrick, would show me a riff or show me a bunch of riffs. I'd go through them and I'd say, hey, I like this. I'd sing some melodies to them. And then we'd decide, it'd usually be a chorus. We'd start with it. We always start with a chorus before. And then once we figured out a nice chorus, then we'd build the song outwards from there. And
which is cool because like back then we'd actually ride on acoustic guitars at the back of Henry's pickup truck. Like we'd go up to the mountains and like some just off the city in Cebu, where you can like have fresh mountain air and see the stars up, and we got like
it was all really carefree. I mean, we were just making songs about things that we thought 20-year-olds or 19-year-olds would like, just angsty kind of music. And we didn't really care about, this bridge is too long, this pre-chorus is too short, or the song is too long for Spotify. We didn't have that mindset back then. And back then it was all about making an album. So, we have to have a body of work that's at least 8 or 9 or 10 songs long before we release it onto a CD. And
which was cool too,
And yeah,
because
that
like
was-
when we were writing the first record, I think like the atmosphere of being an active band in Cebu was just like the perfect time, because back then internet speed sort of got better, and we had more resources to like really explore different genres of music, like from everywhere around the world during the MySpace era and the Pure Volume era. So like
Goodness.
a lot of music was just we were just absorbing like a shit ton of music in our heads, and like we were listening to basically stuff just from everywhere around the world, like stuff from um uh like artists like maybe Circa Survive, or like Dredge, or like hell, even Space Hog, or like Travis, or like just a shit ton of bands, a shit ton of
A lot of
different
different
genres,
genres.
and like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it
yeah,
was
just to
like
give you some.
it was like a golden age of like of 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 creativity and influence, like for the band. Like I remember the same time when we were writing Ear Repair, Urban Dub was also writing their third album, Embrace. So like me and John and like the rest of our friends from Urban Dub, like, and we were recording in the same studio, and there'd be days where we'd be scheduled on the same day. So either they were scheduled in the morning or afternoon, or vice versa. So we'd end up bumping into each other and like, hey, have you heard this band? Hey, check this out. Hey, have you heard our new song? Check this out. So we were like just sharing and like cultivating our creative drives. You know, it was just infectious, and I think that a lot of like the old stuff was inspired from all of that, like camaraderie and the atmosphere, and like being an active band in Cebu during those days.
Nice.
And just to
that
give you
brought,
some context, Stefan, all of that sort of musical sharing, we kind of started the band around the same time that Napster was a big thing. If you remember Napster.
Yeah, I do. I actually had that thought before as well, and Russell mentioned it as well. Like you would have started around the same time as MySpace. You know, there wouldn't have been any YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. Like all of that, you know, came 5, 6, 7 years later.
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't Mark Zuckerberg back then. It was Tom.
Yeah. Have you actually tried to look up MySpace now? It's still around, but it's so different, man.
No.
Oh no
Yeah,
way.
actually, our
It's still
MySpace
around?
page is still up,
Oh, really?
but I forgot the password to it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I used to have an old page. I don't even know what email I used back then, so it's just it's gone. But now, it's still around. Yeah,
just like what Russell said about sort of the explosion of musical sharing that was going on back then, which caused all of the influence for us. Because I mean, yeah, Philippines is a third world country, so we don't have the same access to. We didn't have the same access to music shops or places where you could buy CDs from all these cool rock bands, and a lot of people didn't know who Circa Survive was, or they didn't know who At the Drive-In was, so that kind of thing, you know. And then we learned about that through the internet, and the internet was really starting to boom back then. We had Napster.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I downloaded anything on Napster.
Of
I don't want to get in
course
trouble
not.
with the internet, please. But yeah, that was part of the boom that happened, and I guess you could say that because you're saying, I mean, and I'm really proud of what we've done lately, but you could see, I guess you could see if you listen to the first album of Urban Dub, which is John's band, as well as our first album, our second album, then all of the stuff that we've recorded now, and like you said, we're really proud of it. It's got a really polished, amazing production and sound to it, which is down in part to not just how we recorded, but also how Tower of Doom has made it so awesome.
Yeah.
But you can see in the evolution of those records from the first albums that we did, as well as Urban Dub, to what we're doing now. Also, the evolution of the recording and music industry in the Philippines, because sort of the quality has started to get better as more and more Filipinos started to get exposed to recording qualities abroad. And then our standards have also risen. So we're gonna, like, when we go into the studio, we say, hey, you know what? I want my snare to sound like Abe from the Deftones, or I want this vocal effect. I want it to sound like Chino. Whereas before we didn't have those guys. So yeah, I mean, it's really a humbling thing and an amazing thing when I look back on the music that we created before, comparing it to the music that we've made now. Not just the songwriting process, but also the way that the recording quality has evolved. And when we came to Manila back then, Tower of Doom was an entity. I mean, I think they've been around for more than 20 years, Tower of Doom. So when we came to Manila, they were around, but we didn't get the opportunity to join up with them back then since we were part of a different group. But we'd always look up to them. They'd always had this most amazing sound. They had amazing bands under them. And so when we had the chance to, when they offered us the opportunity to join them in 2018, we jumped at the chance.
Of course. Yeah.
And because when we went on hiatus in 2009, 2010, 2011, I think it was all the way until 2014, right, Russ? I mean, we didn't get back together until 2014, I think.
Yeah.
So we had a really long break. And then 2014, 15, 16, 17, we just focused on cleaning up our act, playing old songs, practicing old songs, getting the whole cohesiveness back together again, since it's been such a long time since we played together.
Yeah.
Learning from our new members as well. And then in 2018, that whole time period, Russell had a bunch of riffs. And he said to me, hey, Hen, let's start writing some music. And he showed me all these riffs. And Skin was part of that. Flame was part of that. And actually, there's a whole bunch of music that we haven't released yet, which we recorded in 2018 with Tower of Doom. So we actually recorded 6 songs with Tower of Doom in 2018. These are all songs that sort of Russell had riffs to them. He would show them to me. I would make vocals to them. Then we'd show them to the band, to Martin, Andrew, and John. And then from there, we'd collaboratively expand the song. We'd contribute. We'd go into the studio and work it out. So we made 6 songs. We recorded 6 songs with Tower of Doom. And Tower of Doom is basically following a singles model at the moment. So they release a single every 3-4 months.
Yep.
And that was the plan with us. So we released Skin, and then we released Skin in 2019, first part of 2019. And then we released Flame in the second half of 2019. And then the idea was to release another 2 or 3 singles in 2020, and then the pandemic hit. So basically, Pain was a single we were supposed to release in 2020 that we're releasing now. So the whole of 2020, we were frustrated. We wanted to release, but we couldn't go into the studio. Everything was under lockdown. We couldn't shoot the video. We couldn't work things out with Tower because they were also under lockdown. So we just had to be patient.
Yeah.
And so what we did was, since we'd lost all of the opportunity to go gigging, we kind of saw there was a whole movement of bands doing what they called videos from home. So they were recording their videos collaboratively, mixing them, professionally editing them themselves. And so we did something like that. We recorded our own quarantine versions of our older songs, recorded them from home, and released them. Actually, today is the first 1-year anniversary of the first quarantine version of one of our songs we released. We released in April of 2020. And we did that. So for the whole pandemic, every month or 2, we would put out like a quarantine version. Sometimes it would be our own song. It would be a cover. So I think we released like 5 or 6 quarantine songs during 2020. just to sort of alleviate the frustration of not being able to gig, not being able to release the songs that we wanted to release. And then when the lockdown eased in 2021, we got our game plan rolling again with Tower. So that's how we released Pain, and we started planning for another few singles for this year.
Yep.
But yeah, that's how it's worked out so far.
Yeah, cool. I've got two questions out of that. So and you can choose in what order you want to answer them. So the first one is what actually made you guys reassemble the band back in 2014? And the other question is how fans engaged with all the stuff that you did during lockdown. So all the home videos that you've done, and the lack of singles in 2020.
Well, I'll answer the first question.
Yep.
And then I'll let the rest. Me and Russell will answer the first question. I'll go first.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it makes more sense for you guys to do that.
So after hiatus, I went through a really dark period in my life, and so I went home. I went to Cebu. I'd lost contact with the rest of the band. We stopped playing together, and our second album sort of started just to rot. We didn't release it. We didn't finish it. We didn't mix or master it. And then I slowly started to pick up the pieces of my life again around 2013, basically. I got a job. I was basically jobless for a while. I got a job in 2013. And it was around that time that I realized that, all throughout that period, sort of the people that kept encouraging me to stay sane, to stay sober, was these guys, Russell, my old bandmates. And they were always in touch with me. They're always, Henry, how you doing, man? Where are you? Are you okay? And I realized just how much these guys meant to me as a family. And they helped pick me up again. So
awesome.
As soon as I kind of stabilized myself, I reached out to them. I said, hey guys, if you'll forgive me for leaving, maybe we can start again. And we started again. Thankfully, these guys put all of the bad things that happened aside, and Russell, our old guitarist Patrick, our old bassist Trevor, they said, yeah, man, let's get back together. Let's release the second album. So we mustered the energy and motivation to release the second album. And then when they also decided that, hey, you know what, Henry, we kind of got to focus on our real lives too. I told Russell, hey man, as long as you want to stick with me, I'll stick with you, and let's keep Faspitch going. Let's find a way to keep it going. Let's make new music, man. Let's keep our music alive, because it's what kept me alive. So
wow.
that's kind of how that's how my answer goes. How does your answer go, Russ?
That's like I'll just start out by saying thanks much for sharing that story, man. I actually have goosebumps, man, because that is I can really resonate with what you're saying. But that's a story for another day. I'm really glad you shared that. So thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Even now, I mean, I can say that I've really put my life back together now, and it's been 8 years since 9 years since my life was spiraling, and I can still say now that if it weren't for these guys, if it weren't for our old music, because when I was in a deep hole, I'd go back and I'd listen to the songs that we'd made, and I realized, hey, you know what, I made that. I made that with these guys, and I can't believe that I let it go. So that was part of the reason why
music is so powerful when it comes to that, because it's something that is so deeply, it's like it's spiritual pretty much. I had a chat to a duo from the States a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about that too, like that deep connection you have with your art. And yeah, so again, like I said, I resonate 100% with that emotion or that feeling that you went through.
Yeah, and I'm not, I confess I'm not sort of the most musically inclined person. Yeah, I sing, I do the vocals, I do the lyrics and stuff like that, but I'd be the first one to admit that if it weren't for these guys, none of the magic that we make would ever happen. I mean, the riffs, the grooves, the nuances of the songs. It doesn't come from just one person. It comes from all of us working together.
Yeah.
And so I'm really fortunate that we were able to, even though Faspitch kind of fell apart for a while, we kind of rebuilt ourselves into this new iteration, sort of this new version of Faspitch.
Yeah.
Faspitch 3.1 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome, man.
Version.
Did you have
Yeah,
something
my
to add to that, Russell?
Well, for me, I think a little bit of a backtrack there. Those years when we were on hiatus is when I actually met Martin in music college.
Oh, awesome.
So we're like both, yeah, we met in college, and during those times, well, because when Henry was like gone, I sort of still tried to push it a little. Like I was in touch with the guys, but we couldn't find Henry anywhere, and it was those times were a tad bit frustrating because like uh, since I was sort of handling bookings, and I'd get like really good offers, but we couldn't find Henry, so I'd have to like decline because like everyone was up for it, but we can't perform as Faspitch without vocals
No.
on it. So you know what I mean. So I sort of still kept on with the music. During the hiatus, I formed a different band called Curbside. Uh, uh, it was sort of like an outlet for me
Revenge.
to like, yeah, it's like revenge, or like it wasn't like an outlet for the stuff that I couldn't do with Fast Pitch with the old lineup, like to get more into like the heavier stuff, like the actual like Head PE, Seven Dust, Meshuggah, all that sort of stuff,
Wicked.
like yeah, like the power groove stuff, maybe even a little bit of Pantera in there. So and then one day in like about like January or February 2013, I get this call in my cell phone. It was an unknown number, and it was Henry on the other line, and he said,
Yay!
Russ,
We found him.
"Yay! Yeah, we found him. We found him." Like he was like, "Yeah, hey man, how have you been? Hey, let's catch up." And he was like, I was like, "Wait, you're alive?" I thought you were dead or something. And so yeah, we met up, and like we had a few beers or so, and then yeah, it's how we sort of reconnected, and we hashed out some stuff, and I was just happy to see him alive, and like wanting to get back. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It was like an epiphany for both of us. Like me and Henry, we were like, "Hey man, this is our baby." It's like you
Yeah.
can't just abandon your kid. It's like Faspitch is our baby, and it's like they all these people are sort of like uh, we should sort of keep it alive. We can't just leave him for dead. So
And you had
so
already recorded all the songs, right?
yeah, we
Yeah.
did, and
Yeah.
and there was this one event. There was this one gig that sort of helped us finish that album because we needed to raise a little bit of money to sort of finish mixing and mastering the second record. And there was this opportunity from Jack Daniels because for the past like several years they've been into yeah, seriously, because like for the past few years they've been doing a lot of music stuff with like their campaigns and shit like that. And they reached out to us, and they wanted to do a show to sort of like because I was friends with some of the people that work there. So they were like, "Hey, we heard that you guys are sort of coming back together. We'd like to book you for this event." And that event actually paid for final mix and master of the second record. if I remember
Wow.
it correctly. Yeah,
Awesome,
yeah,
man.
and then once we sorted all of that out, we were like, okay, let's give it a go. It's game time. Let's just finish this up and like get it out there before it's too late, because you know it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I guess during at the same time we sort of had like a little bit of uh uh we sort of fell apart, not only like you know not just internally but also with management, the old management,
Yeah.
the one before Nemesis. So so it was just uh a tad bit sad that we didn't really get to like market and promote the second record, as we didn't uh, have the chance to like fully push for it or like tour for it. But instead, what we upon like upon rekindling the relationship and trying to get the band back together again, like this time with new members, since the OG guys wanted to like focus on other things, we uh we decided like, hey, let's just write new stuff, because like we're gonna have a new lineup anyway, so let's just write new stuff, like that's more sort of up to date. So like start fresh, like clean slate,
Yeah.
start fresh. So that I think that's a perfect segue for like to answer your second question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Andrew, Martin, John,
Yeah, I
for
think I'll
this.
answer the second question. How the fans reacted to this one? So I used to connect it to Russell and Henry's story. Behind all of those the ups and downs and all the drama that was happening behind the scenes, Faspitch actually built a very solid following. The brand of Faspitch has always been low key. It was never a mainstream band, um, but it has this very as a new member, or even as a fan before then, Faspitch had really a unique niche in the music industry that has tickled a lot of curiosity with rock listeners, because they've never heard anything like us, or them rather, because this was a time prior to me, Martin, and John joining. Um, they've amassed a big following. So even if the band had a long hiatus, these guys were still hungry for new music. And I think the hard work that Russell, Henry, and the OG guys did before has paid off really well, because those hungry fans stayed with the band. They stayed with the brand, and I think the progress of the band today is also credited to those fans who have stuck with the band over the years.
Yeah.
Honestly, honestly, um, because since I run the social media, I run a lot of the analytics for us. I tell them the numbers. I was quite surprised that even if we don't do gigs a lot, we don't do a lot of gigs. Even pre-pandemic, we don't do a lot of gigs. We do like maybe 3 or 4, or maybe 5 a year. Um, but the hunger of our fans is just very overwhelming. You know, so the reaction to the activities that we've done during the pandemic is also very overwhelming, because again, we're not really a marketing heavy band. We don't have that many merchandise to sell, but people are, at least for our fans, for the band's fans, they were very hungry for anything that we would be releasing. That's when we released our first quarantine sessions, called Candles. It's the acoustic version of Candles. Um, it went, I mean, it didn't go viral, like how we define viral today, but at least for us, with the amount of following that we have, a lot of fans responded well to that, and that kind of gave us a nod that, okay, I think our fans are hungry for new music. So that spurred the series of activities that we've done. So
Yeah.
so we've done a lot of acoustic sessions, and then that also I guess paved time for us to talk to Tower of Doom and tell them, hey, we're doing these activities. Our fans are responding really well to the activities that we've done. I think it's time that we continue the talks of releasing our music. So if it weren't really for that strong following that Faspitch had over the years, I don't think that the band would be, where it is today. We wouldn't be talking to you today if it weren't for
Right.
those guys.
Wow.
The fans
if
keep
I
our
could add-
relevance relevant.
Yeah, if I can add to that, Stefan. So yeah, we built sort of an underground sort of niche following of music rock fans in the Philippines, and I've kind of always seen us as that kind of band too, like an underground niche band, sort of not really conforming with any genres of music. More just being, just a freestyle piece of like an art rock band kind of in a way. We all blend our different styles together. Even though we love the Deftones, we love Foo Fighters, we love Seven Dust, we love all these kind of bands together. The amalgamation of all of our influences never really add up to all of our influences. It's just a different beast by itself. And I've always been really proud that we built something different. And I mean, not just different in the Philippines, but like when you listen to other bands around the world, there aren't really any kind of bands that sound like us. I mean, yeah, you'll find similarities here and there, but Faspitch is Faspitch, and that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to get back with Russ and keep this project going, see if we could further our goals. And even though the band is different now, it's a different setup now. I could say it's a little bit more streamlined now, because in the past with original members, when we created a piece of music, we would have to compromise amongst all 5 of us. So it took a while to finish the piece. Whereas now, when we first started again with Russ, it was just me and Russ. Yeah, we were butting heads, but now with sort of the new setup, when we started, it was just me and Russ, and then so the initial idea would come from me and Russ, and then we'd spread it amongst the members, and then we'd improve from there. And then the more songs that we start to create together, the more we kind of, our dynamic is kind of gelling a bit more now. So Martin, Andrew, Russell, and John kind of know what to expect from me. Likewise, I know what to expect from them, what kind of changes they might want to do with these songs. Or sometimes, outright you can say, oh, I don't think they're going to like this. So, we don't work on it. Or likewise, Russell will say, yeah, no, I don't think this will work for us. So we don't continue. But I can say it's a bit more streamlined now. Yeah. And interestingly, Stefan, the reason why I say it's, Faspitch 3.1 is because this band is kind of made up of 3 generations of musicians. So Urban Dub, the band that John is from, they started several years before us, and we consider them our seniors. We come from the same island. We look up to them, and they're also part of the reason why we thought that, hey, you know what, if they can make music, and they're from Cebu, they're from the Philippines, and maybe we can make music too. So they created that space for us to be creative in Cebu. So I consider them like the first generation. And then me and Russell are part of the second generation. And then interestingly, when we did our first ever gig in Manila, Martin was in the crowd. So Martin started out as a fan of Faspitch and Urban Dub. And they are, Martin and Andrew are the 3rd generation. So that's why I say 3.1. And the 0.1 is basically our management now, Nemesis and Tower, because they're the special sauce. If it weren't for these 2, we wouldn't be able to create, we wouldn't have that space to be creative. We wouldn't have the encouragement to be creative. And Tower of Doom has created such a unique platform in the Philippines where we can just be ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
And I think also, just like what Andrew said, if it weren't for the established sort of fan base that we created a long time ago, Tower of Doom might not see the potential in us. But you know, they saw that we did have a fan base, and they also said to us, you know, we can build on that fan base, and we believe in your sound, we believe in your music. And this is the same thing that Nemesis, our management, said to us. In fact, Nemesis was one of the pushing forces that got me and Russell to really put the band back together. When Russell told me, hey, you know, let's start making new music. That's after the second album. What do you want to do? Let's make a third album. And I said, you know, I don't know, Russ. You think people still want to listen to us? So he brought me to Gabby, who is our manager now, and who's an old friend. He's part of Urban Dub, and he was there when we first started gigging in Manila. And he said to us, yeah, you know what, man? You guys have people in Manila who are really waiting for your new stuff. I mean, they want you to create new stuff. They want to get you back together. And that was part of the driving force. So they are the point one. There's 3 generations in this band, and they're the point one. So that's why I say it's Faspitch 3.1.
That's a really good comparison, or a really good metaphor for it. Love that story, man. And that again also probably just even more underscores the whole thing you mentioned earlier about family. Like it's something where you've actually expanded your family to also like to encourage. Like you said, the Tower of Doom. You said like your manager is a friend of the band, or was a part of what was it, John's old band?
Yep.
Something like that. So again, so you are all connected one way or the other. It's I love that. I love that. That's such a good. It also like gives you a much tighter connection, because you already like you would have known each other beforehand. So it's not like you have to go out and sort of start from scratch. And you know, do we trust this person? But obviously, if a manager is such an important person to have you know, unconditional trust in, because he, you know, they would have to represent you guys and, you know, act on your behalf and all that stuff. So yeah, but yeah, I love the fact about the whole 3 generations, man. That's a really, really cool cool story about it.
Yeah, you know, the one driving factor that I think has kept us going all throughout, and maybe kind of caused us to fade a little bit is the belief that, you know, that we've had in each other, as well as the belief that our management has had in us. So for example, at that time in our band's career, in our lives, before we released our second album, when we started to fade out, it was down to a lack of belief. We kind of started to lose a belief in the band, and because of that, the people around us, part of our management, etc., they started to lose their belief in us, and it was a domino effect, you know, and then it just kind of spiraled out of control. Yeah. And then coming back together, it was just an overwhelming sense of belief in us, and I thought, well, when Russell said, you know, let's get back together, when Gabby and our management said, you know, you guys have people waiting for you, I felt this big sense of belief in us again, and that made me believe in myself again also, and I believe in all these guys, Andrew, Martin, Russell, John. I feel this amazing belief in what we want to do, what we can do, and I feel so proud of the stuff that we've created recently, and I feel so excited for the songs that we haven't released yet, because I know those songs are gonna be amazing. People are gonna enjoy them and love them, and that's down to just the belief that we have, the belief that we built up. We lost it, but we found it again.
Fantastic, man.
And that belief is so strong that Henry is now a brand new dad.
Nice.
Yes, Stefan. I'm gonna use my kid as a scapegoat here, which is why I was a few minutes late, because I was just changing diapers and I fell asleep. And I woke up and it was 3:55. Oh shit! But
I got 3 kids myself. So the excuse is absolutely valid.
Yeah, I'm a new dad. It's so awesome. It's a great feeling.
Congratulations, man.
She's thank you. I guess she's what you would call a pandemic baby because she was conceived and gave birth during the pandemic. So she's given me a whole new perspective to a better outlook on the world, so to speak.
Yeah. Does the rest of you have any? Did you have any kids?
Just Henry.
I have 9 cats.
9 cats.
I'm a crazy cat dude, man.
Well, cats and coffee, you know, that should be a little side hustle you can run there.
Oh yeah. Definitely
So,
I wasn't really planning on having that much. Started with 1, and then some Christmas I had to go home in Cebu, left it with a friend, and they had cats as well. And then that one came back pregnant, and then boom.
wow.
If I hadn't had like the other kittens like adopted or sold, I wouldn't have. I probably have like more than 30 of them right now.
That's a lot.
9, that's a bit
I
of
just
a
have a
handful.
dog. I just have a dog.
Yeah.
There she is.
There you go. Hey, Moon.
So,
Big girl.
so I was about to say, so in regards to the future, what's your future ambitions moving forward? Because I'm super excited to hear the rest of the songs. You're saying you got some more singles this year.
I'll probably do an online show again, something that we're planning on. So, in celebrating of the life of Faspitch, something like that, and more music, just more music.
Yeah, more music, definitely.
Yeah, outside the
well,
Philippines.
we actually.
Outside the Philippines,
that'd be great, man.
Yeah.
It's something that, again, like I suppose I think Henry mentioned it as well, sort of like being with Philippines being again, personally, I mean I've been there, and I know what you mean when you sort of saying like a third world country and stuff, like compared to the Western world and stuff. But do you see that as a disadvantage in regards to going overseas and trying to compete with some of the like the European or the American acts, or because obviously like how I look at music, I listen to it, and again, to me, it doesn't matter where you're from. If it's music that I enjoy, I've gone absolutely like one of the singles from Sadie that I had on the other day. I would have listened to that 20 times this week. Probably, and I had the same like I said with the last couple of singles you guys did. Like I said, I went to the gym the other day, and that was all I listened to for like a good hour. I was there. I was about to say I probably only really went to the gym for like half an hour, but let's just make it sound a bit better here. But your songs are so good. So again, like to me, I don't care if you're from the Philippines, or if you're from Denmark or Australia or Brazil. Like it doesn't matter where you're from. But the quality is something that I think a lot of people, especially in this world where everything's online anyway, it's something that, again, if it's music that you resonate with, if it's music that you enjoy, I don't see it as any disadvantage where you're from. And your songs, again, as I mentioned before, the production is phenomenal. It sounds great. You guys look great when you perform. Your graphics and your socials are super professional. So do you think there is anything other than the fact that that you're from the Philippines that would hinder you to go out and compete with some of the bigger bands you mentioned yourself, like Seven Dust, Foo Fighters, and stuff like that?
Well, first of all, Stefan, thank you very much. Means a lot to us.
I'm genuinely super impressed by not just you guys, but all the other bands that I've spoken to from the Philippines, because it's so like the music to me, it's like it's opened a door to all this music I didn't know existed. And again, look, I found bands I didn't know existed from Australia all the time as well, or from Europe. But it's so cool to see, like to meet all these really amazing people. And again, like you're super nice guys too, by the way. Like it's the fact that I feel so blessed to have these conversations with all these people that I've never met before. I've only heard the music for a couple of weeks and so, but to hear all your stories, to hear your music and stuff, like to me, like it's very humbling. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know that I'm genuinely a fan, man. I'm genuinely impressed by you and a lot of the other bands as well. And I would love to help as well. Let me start out by saying that. If there's anything I can do through my platform moving forward and stuff, it's that's the whole reason why I started. But again, that's a whole different story. We can do that another time.
Thanks, man.
So
You made my day.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks,
Stay
Stefan.
fresh, homie.
But back to you again,
And you're right.
Henry. Sorry.
You're right. The the music that we create, the music that we listen to, it transcends any sort of borders or sort of economic definitions of where you're from.
Yeah. Yep.
And I guess, and you did ask us earlier, if we'd ever thought of it. It's, I mean, when we first started, it was such a huge thing for me and the guys to, hey man, maybe we can get our music out globally. And we did play it. We played a few shows around Asia. We've gone to Malaysia, to Singapore, to Hong Kong. We've played around Southeast Asia. And yes, it's always, I can't deny, it would be such an awesome thing to be able to play in Europe or Australia or America, because we could go toe to toe with anyone out there. That's how much I love our music, and I can say that for pretty much any of the bands that play. Yeah, and that not just goes for us, but that goes for a lot of the bands in the Philippines, Stefan. You're right. There's so much talent here, but it may be a subconscious crutch. I don't know. I mean, the fact that we're still a developing country. I don't know if that's the correct term. I guess third world country isn't politically correct nowadays, but
it's just like even that term to me is bullshit, because like I said, it's. Yeah, I just hate the labels that are being made up by politicians and the media and stuff.
But yeah, I mean, it may be subconscious or it may be an actual crutch, because just a little bit of an insight into how the majority of the music industry here works. So yes, we do have major labels, just like in Australia, just like in any other country. We have our major labels, we have our indie labels, and so a huge driving force this was before Spotify and YouTube, but a huge driving force of how a band's success is gained would be through the major labels. Every once in a while, yes, there would be some successful bands through independent labels, but really, if you wanted to hit the big time, whether it's mainstream, pop, alternative, hardcore, metal, whatever, you have to be signed to a major label, because all of the opportunities to go abroad, all the opportunities to be exposed on media, print, and all that stuff is through the traditional major labels. And in the Philippines, I don't know, maybe because of sort of the economic balance, just sort of the way that the upper class, middle class, the income gap between all the people in the Philippines is, major labels think that there isn't such a big market for the kind of music that we make, and that goes for a lot of bands here. So a lot of really talented rock bands, maybe 1 out of 100 talented rock bands in the Philippines would be signed to a major label.
Right. And
so it forces bands in the type of music that we make to do it themselves, to be independent. And maybe that in itself is a bit of a crutch. I don't know if it's a real crutch or if it's just subconscious, if it's just in our mind. But I think, nowadays, because the internet has made everything so global, and we're not as dependent on the major labels as we used to be, I'm sure the opportunities would be there now to be able to go abroad. and platforms such as yours from different parts of the world who reach out to us, and it amazes us so much that because we're on Spotify and YouTube, we have people from Australia, from Europe, from America listen to us, and when we look at all of our analytics on Spotify, we see a bunch of listeners in Russia. We have a bunch of listeners in Pakistan and Bangladesh. It's so awesome. But hopefully, because of the exposure that we're now getting through the internet, through these free platforms, hopefully the opportunities to go abroad will again materialize. And we're actually seeing a little bit of that now. Some bands, for example, Valley of Chrome played in Germany, played in Europe.
At a Wacken festival.
At the Wacken Festival. Queso is another band here. They played in Nepal, I think it was, at another metal festival. So now that Filipino musicians are starting to get more familiar with the tools and figure out ways to not be so reliant on the traditional major labels and the traditional industry that we used to be tied to, I'm sure those opportunities to go abroad will rise up again. And I would be so happy if we got offers to go abroad. It would be an honor, and I'd grab it. I would.
It's obviously like having a baby now would, like, I know me as a dad, it's very difficult for me to leave my family for very long periods of time. Like I think the longest I've been away from my family was like 4 or 5 days, where we had a gig at an island in like an Australian island. But yeah, like for me, it would be very difficult if I had to sort of leave them for, say, a couple of weeks, if you had to go on a tour and something like that. So, but at the same time, I understand. Of course, any band's most bands' dreams are to go and play, big festivals or do like a big tour in Europe or the States, because it's I think it's just this exotic dream of like the European market, being with all the different countries and cultures and mass markets there is something that again is such a milestone to achieve as a band. But at the same time, as you mentioned as well, like with everything being online these days, it's something everyone can achieve, no matter if you are from Bangladesh or if you are from Nepal or America, because again, like the people, like the receiver at the other end, will, for instance, like everyone can by the time this is edited and by the time we put this up, everybody can watch it no matter where they are. So again, like you could have done this pretty much yourself. Like you could have sat down and had a band in between yourself and everybody else that you put that in front of. That's probably a job for Andrew if he's a social media guy. But like to sit down and find out who is our target audience and get it out there. Because look, there's hands down, no matter everything else aside, your song sounds awesome. So you just got to find people that would resonate with that. So again, if that's people that would listen to Foo Fighters or Seven Dust and some of the other international bands, then they would listen to that music too. And if they just look up and say, oh, well, shit, I want to find out more about these guys. Oh shit, they're from the Philippines. Wow, wicked. You know what I mean? So in many cases, I think to me, that makes you more interesting. It makes you more exotic. The fact that you're not American or you're not German or Australian, you know what I mean? So I think there is a massive opportunity to actually try and use that to your advantage, like to actually build a story. And the thing is, something that I find even more intriguing about bands or about people in general is the background story. So for instance, Henry, for you to share that story about you when you said you had those couple of dark years, is something that a lot of fans would go like, wow, like I haven't heard the band yet, but I really resonate with what Henry said. Now I want to check out his music. And that's what makes podcasts, and that's why podcasts can be such a powerful medium, because you get the opportunity to share these stories that you wouldn't normally just share on your own platform. But when people then sit down, take the time out and listen to it, whether they're a fan, whether they know you or not, is irrelevant. But by the time they hear that, you have that even deeper connection that in most cases actually triggers people to be even more interested in finding more about you. And obviously, in your case, your product, except for Russell and John, where you got like the food and the coffee as well, then overall, like as a band, like your product is your music. So
absolutely,
yeah.
And this might actually, I think, Helhammer might be the first podcast that Faspitch has been on as a band together.
Hopefully not the last,
yeah,
man. Like you should go out and do more. Go out and do more. Yeah, go out and do more. There's so many people out there. And again, same thing. All podcasters around the world and stuff, are always looking for new guests. And because of the pandemic, most bands are at home anyway. so it just gives you like it's like a win-win. Like it gives you more options to talk to more people because people are available. Whether it's as an individual or as a whole band. Like this is the first time too I've had 5 guys on at the same time. it's going really well, by the way. I'm really happy with how this is turning out.
Yeah, I guess we have the pandemic to thank for sort of the rise of online events,
online
such
presence,
as podcasting. Yes, online presence. Like for example, we did all the quarantine covers. And we released that online, and sort of the podcast that people are doing, the Tower of Doom live thing that we did, that's all online.
Yep.
So there's been really, really great things that the pandemic has created. At the same time, a lot of lost opportunities as well. I mean, going back to what we were talking about, international gigs. So right before the pandemic hit, John and his band Urban Dub, they were supposed to do a world tour. It's their 20th anniversary, right, John?
Yep.
Wow.
20th anniversary tour.
And then pandemic hit. So
yeah, they had a bunch of gigs lined up in Dubai, in Japan. I think they even had one in Australia, in the United States, and Canada. And John has actually played in the United States with Urban Dub. So
nice.
The whole the global demand for there is a global demand for music from the Philippines. It is starting to pick up, and then the pandemic hit, and that kind of shut everything down. So hopefully, when things go a little bit back to normal, people will be hungry for gigs again, and we might get the opportunity to not just play again in the Philippines. Hopefully, go to Dubai, go to Australia, go to Japan and America. That would be awesome. And you're right. I mean, it is a bit harder for me now because I got a family. So as excited as I am to talk about that with you now, when I tell my wife, she might not be so excited.
Yeah.
unless if it's part of the technical writer, I'm bringing my family with me.
Yeah. Just gotta up your budget a little bit. The tour manager won't be happy. We actually played. My old band back home played a couple of shows with Soulfly, and
wow.
And when they were touring, they had 2 nightliners. They had one for the band, and they had one for Max and his family, because he was older than the rest of the guys, so he had his wife and kids in a separate bus. So you could put that on your on your radar. Private jet, just tour the world. There you go. The big.
Was this when you were? Was this back in Denmark, Stefan?
Yeah.
Australia?
Yeah, that's back in Denmark. That's back in early 2000s. So again, same as what you were saying earlier. It's like before Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and very early. I'm the older generation.
You migrated?
Yeah, well, I
Did
came
you migrate to Australia?
I came here on holiday for the first time in 2004, and I loved the country. I was still in the band back then, but then I came back in, I think, 2006, 2007. I was here from like December to February because my sister moved here, and I was like, oh man, I gotta try and live here, man. So I decided one day it's gonna happen. And then in 2009, my old position, I got into the corporate. I just started, forgetting all about playing music. Started work as a sales manager. And then in 2009, the opportunity came because my position got made redundant because of the global financial crisis. And I was like, you know what? I think I had 4 or 5 months of full pay as a part of my redundancy package. I was like, I'm going to Australia. So I just bought So I just bought a one-way ticket to Perth. Perth was the only place I haven't been. So I thought, look, I'll start here and just see what happened. And 4 months later, I met my my now wife, who's an Australian girl, and that's sort of, long story short, that's how I ended up here. We actually moved back to Denmark because she hasn't she never left Australia at that time. So she said, I'd love to go and see Europe. I said, well, all right, let's do it. I've seen all of Europe. Like to me, it's nothing, but I understand why it's really exotic to her because she's never left Australia. So yeah, so we went over there. We traveled Europe for nearly a month, just in a car. Literally just lived, and I ate tinned food and slept in a tent, and like really on a budget. But it was so much fun, and again, it really sort of really like you find out so much more about each other, and you have to stay in a sleeping bag on an inflated mattress in a tent in Scotland. You know what I mean? So. But yeah, so that was so that's how I ended up here in Australia. So yeah, I officially migrated.
But you,
I officially
live
became
there now.
a PR. Yeah. So I live here now. I've been a permanent resident since 2012, and became a citizen
nice.
last year. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, congratulations, man! Congratulations.
Yeah. I look like the whole passport citizen thing didn't really mean much to me, but it was more the fact, I did qualify for it. So my wife just kicks him, just do it, just go down and do the test, and said, all right, cool. So I did it. So, but I mean,
did you have to sing the national anthem?
No, you don't. You have to sit in a room with a lot of people and listen to a lot of stories about Australia and say, yep, that's all sweet, that's all cool, and then you get your little certificate and that's it. I still don't have a passport. I haven't applied for it. I don't need to, really. I mean, I've got my Danish passport, that opens up to all of Europe. Not that I ever want to go there at the moment because of the pandemic, but yeah, you don't need two passports, and I didn't really need the citizenship either. It's just because it was convenient just to go and do it. Like I can do exactly the same as a citizen as I can as a permanent resident. So
are you fluent in Australian English now? Fucking oath, Mike.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, bloody oath, hey. Nah, I actually reckon you pulled that off way better than I could. So, I mean, my first job here, I worked in construction for the first 3 or 4 months I was here, which was rough as hell, man. But yeah, obviously, like the lingo as a construction worker is a bit more coarse as it is when you.
So, were you a foreman or of some sort? Did you have to operate like heavy machinery?
No, I was working as a concreter, man. I had to get up at like 4 a.m. to go out and put concrete at different construction sites and stuff. I absolutely hated it.
You're doing driveways and stuff.
Yeah, no, actually, this was more commercial stuff. So we were actually building high-rise, like concrete, like tilt panels and stuff. We were going to build like big warehouses and stuff. I actually was a part of building the new terminal at the new airport in Perth. This is again, like I said, this is 9 years ago. So yeah, so that was the stuff I was doing. Very, very different to selling and obviously playing drums and playing music. So that's why, again, to me, just to quickly maybe to round it off as well. Like I started doing this podcast a year ago in 5 days. It's a year ago since I did my first one, and that started it was born out of COVID. It was born out of lockdown, where I too, in my previous job, had some really dark, almost like about a year of just like really just wanted to get out of the industry. But because I was making good money and stuff and looking after my family, it was really hard for me to actually give that up. And then after COVID happened, I realized, having these 5-6 weeks at home with my kids that I never really saw because I was working, sometimes 60, 70 hours a week. It just made me realize how important that is. Having that time as a father and be with my kids was more important than making good money. So yeah, so in November, I've taken again a leap of faith and started, look, I'm going to focus 100% on doing my podcast, starting a YouTube channel, and just try and help bands, talk to bands, like expand that network. So hopefully, like just be in the industry again. I missed music so much that, and then podcasting just became a very good outlet because it made me it allowed me to connect to a lot of people around the world. So it allowed me to expand my network, but also hear stories. So again, I love talking to people. So it was just such a unique opportunity, but obviously very, very difficult or very, I think the biggest challenge is to find a way to monetize it. But again, as I said before, it's the money is secondary. Like to me, it's doing something you're passionate about, something that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. And again, of course, you got to be able to pay your bills, but that'll come eventually. So for me, that is the driving force now. That is, I get up, I wake up, I go. I've got a studio in Perth now, so I go there. Find a way to shoot some content, try and do some scripting. I've now, and which is how you guys and we met is through one of my assistants in the Philippines, and he's absolutely amazing work connecting me to all these people, helping me come up with ideas for content for my channel. So again, he's literally he's been almost like a savior for me moving forward, because he's so passionate about making this a success. So anyway, yeah, that was me just talking there, but that's my story, and that's what I want to do moving forward. Like I want to help musicians, help bands get more exposure, and again, I don't care where they're from. Like I said, I've had people from the Philippines, Israel, America, Canada, Germany, UK, obviously Australia, all over the world. Italy, I've had an Italian producer I spoke to a couple of months ago, and hear all these stories. Sweden, I'm writing an album at the moment with a Swedish producer who's playing guitar on the new Alice Cooper album and stuff like, and has worked with.
Cool.
And has worked with Alice
Awesome,
Cooper, co-wrote and co-produced Alice Cooper's Paranormal album, and I actually had him on the podcast, so that podcast will come up next month. We actually talk about, for over half an hour, we talk about how he flew to Nashville and flew to LA and worked with Bob Ezrin and Alice Cooper and wrote those songs, and hearing his stories and hearing his adventures in the music industry as well, hearing all the people he's worked with, Anastasia, Paul Stanley, it's just crazy to hear those stories, man. From some we go, like, to me, that's just so unachievable, man. But he's done it. Very humble. Now he works out of his own studio in Stockholm now. Has started his own family and just operates there as a session musician and producer.
So you're like going back to your.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mars.
Sorry, man.
No. I mean, so you're like going back to your roots.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's almost like you're starting from scratch, but not really. Because again, like I said, my old band was signed to a major label. We were signed to Virgin Records, but again, like that was a very bad experience back then, because of, again, like being signed to a major label is by no means necessarily a good thing, because you can be a very small fish in a very big pond. So for me, yeah, it is definitely going back to my roots, but it's something, again, to me, it's doing something you are incredibly passionate about, rather than just chasing money. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's great. It's great to chase money if it's something you're passionate about. Then it's a win-win. But in my case, it was far more important to do something where I knew I was mentally there, and I was also there, to actually spend more time with my kids and my wife, because that's time you can never get back. So and no money can buy that time back. If you make a lot of money and then all your kids are grown up, and by the time they get into the teens, they don't want to be with you anymore. They want to be with their friends. So right now where they're so little, like I said, I've got 3 boys, 7, 5.5, and 1.5, and when they're little, especially the little guy, the 1.5, like they just love you unconditionally, because it's like they're so dependent on you. Like they can't eat if you don't give them food. You know what I mean? And as Henry said, like, if they go to the toilet, well, they're depending on you to change them. Whereas obviously as you get older, I'm just going to go to the toilet, and they just do their own stuff. But like all those moments, again, you have to grab them now, because in a blink of an eye they're gone, and you'll never get it back. And that was my wake-up call around this time last year. So
Yeah, man.
Which one is the
this pandemic
guitarist?
sorry.
So which one is the guitarist, the bassist, or the drummer?
Ah,
It's up to them.
it's funny. I'm trying. You know, I've got like a hybrid drum kit at home that I've used to track the songs I'm working with. The Tommy, the Swedish producer with, and my kit at home is like it's got mesh heads and triggers, but it's actually an acoustic kit that's just converted into an electric kit pretty much. And every time they go in and they try and play, you know, I usually try and sort of leave them alone because again I don't want to force it onto them either. But it seems like it seems like the youngest guy is the one that's most into it. But again, at the same time, he just wants to destroy stuff. So he just wants to hit everything. so I think it's just the fact here he can sit down, he can hit something and sounds come out. I think he just thinks that's so cool, man.
That's a good start.
It is, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's the primal human urge.
Yeah, but at the same time, music is something that has to find you. I reckon. I didn't start playing drums until I was 13 or 14, and my parents tried to give me piano lessons when I was 5 or 6, and I hated it. I said, I don't want to play fucking keyboard, man. I want to go out and play outside and jump in the pools and stuff. You know, and get dirty. And then, you know, by the time I got like 12 or 13 years old or something, I found it by accident, you know. So like someone gave me a drum kit at school and said, oh, we need someone to play the drums at a music lesson. So I tried that. I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. Went out and bought a drum kit and never looked back, and started playing along to Black Album and Alice in Chains and Stone Temple Pilots. You know, I grew up with the whole grunge era. So that's sort of my bread and butter when I started to play. But music found me by accident. I never chased it. I said, oh, I got to go out and play an instrument. So it literally just landed on my lap out of the blue, but it's, again, changed my life completely. And it's so
Nice.
It's so hard to give that up, which I think, Henry, as you were saying earlier, was also something you might have realized as well. I said, look, this is such it was such a big part of me. And for the last 8 years, when I was doing my housing design here in Perth, it was something that I completely neglected. I was only playing with a cover band, which, let's be honest, doesn't really do anything for your creativity.
Yeah.
So for me, I just missed that. I just missed writing my own songs. I missed creating stuff rather than just playing someone else's.
Yeah, you know, Stefan, it's funny how it's kind of similar how, I mean, my dad wanted me to play piano when I was really young. Shout out to my dad.
Yeah.
But I hated it. I never really enjoyed. I was like, why do you want me to play Rachmaninoff? I want to be playing Oasis and Radiohead. So while I was getting piano lessons, I was teaching myself how to play guitar, and eventually I quit piano. But later on, I realized how much of a foundation the piano had given me, and I guess it helped sort of form sort of the vocal skills that I have. So grateful to my dad for forcing me to do something I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And to this day, he messages me and he says, "So how are your piano lessons going?" And I just say, "Oh, great, they're doing really good."
That's awesome, man. But it's like, look, in hindsight, I wish I could play piano. I wish I could play another instrument. Look, I can make my way around on a guitar, but I'm by no means a guitarist. Like, again, I write my songs on guitar, but I just sit at home, come up with a couple of riffs. Oh, these riffs sounds cool, and then I just jam them down, and then I get someone else to track them. You know, someone who can actually play guitar to track them, sort of spice them up a bit. But but the musical understanding, especially from piano, is something that I wish I had stuck to it now, you know, in hindsight. But at the same time, you know, it wasn't meant to be, and drums was meant to be.
I feel the same, because like I started the whole music journey started with a piano as well. Like when I was like 3, because like growing up, we'd always have like a piano at home. Because like where I'm coming from is like a really musical family. Like my mother had a band back in her day, and just one day, like it was my uncle's birthday, and there were drinks were pouring, and then like because like my uncle has this a backline musical instrument backline business, and he has like 8 kids to feed, and so it was a busy business, and he just have like a PA system, like he'd have like 5 drum kits just lying around,
Nice.
and then like he had like an acoustic guitar just lying around in their living room, and like one of his birthdays, like my mom picks it up, and like I was like, "Oh, you know how to
Russ,
play
Russ.
guitar?" Yeah,
Hey, Russ.
yeah.
Can I
Yo.
excuse myself first, guys? Because my dog is really crying. I think she wants to go pee pee or poo poo.
Of course. Of course.
Oh, sure.
I'll just put myself on mute. Okay, I'll be back.
Yeah, no worries.
All right,
All right.
all right. Okay, back to that thing. So like growing up, like there was just like music all over the house. Like my mom would like play records, like from ABBA or like local Kenny Rankin, like the standard stuff. And then at some point, like I just like during those like birthdays where we'd go to my uncle's house, like he just have his drum kit set up, and I started sitting down on the kit, just hitting stuff. And then, yeah, it's like I'm actually a frustrated drummer, but that sort of
I'm a frustrated drummer too.
All
That
drummers,
sort of stuff actually
all
helps.
drummers are frustrated. All drummers are frustrating.
but that stuff sort of helps, like being it as a percussive instrument, and like sort of me just falling in love with the groove and the beat. It sort of helped out, like I guess establish some sort of fundamental need to create something that's groove driven and something percussive, and it sort of helps in like actually write riffs to like a drum beat in my head, like like all these patterns and like shapes, colors, whatever you might want to call them. So yeah, but then in fact, I got so into it at some point, I actually convinced my mom to like, hey, can I borrow Uncle Ed's drum kit for like 2 weeks? It only lasted 2 weeks because like the neighbors, we didn't know any better. I didn't know any better, so I was just hitting that damn thing every day, and the neighbors would complain. So like, Russ, sorry, we're gonna have to return the drum kit. Like the neighbors are just calling us every day and like telling us to like shut up. And so I'm like, okay, so what's next? Like what's in like the next line
It's a
of
more
like,
social
instruments
instrument,
that,
yeah.
yeah. So like a guitar, okay. So there, I asked my mom, okay, I just learned guitar. So she got me like this really cheap acoustic guitar, and like here in the Philippines, we have like what you call song hits. It's like standards. They're like a compilation, like tiny little booklets of like that were like that has like all these songs from like the 90s or the 80s or like whatever, and then they have like these like poorly printed chord charts, and that's how you'd like see like how these chords are shaped around the fretboard. So yeah, that's how it all sort of like just started
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
self-taught, and like you naturally gravitate towards that shit.
Yep.
But yeah,
just to
yeah,
just
no,
to
like,
add
I agree.
to just to add to the piano topic, because this is also my first instrument, and looking back, it's the most complete instrument. It's the best foundation for music because it's also a percussive instrument. You can learn chords, can learn melodies, and can learn the bass in piano. So
Yeah. Yep.
I understand that you are frustrated because you want to learn piano before, and looking back, right? Yeah, it's a very good foundation for any instrument,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I agree 100%. And also I think in general, I was like, the more, almost the same as being bilingual, you know, like the more languages you can speak, the more instruments you can play, you know, it sets yourself up to have a bigger sort of comprehension of songwriting and insight to how songs and music are created in general. But yeah, look, it is what it is. I mean, obviously, if I really wanted to learn it, I would just have to put in the effort and, you know, sit down and, you know, either get a teacher or go through a shit ton of YouTube tutorials or something like that. But again, I'm also at a point in life where I'm saying, look, okay, it wasn't meant to be, and I'm cool with that. You know, I'm fine with that. So again, it doesn't, like, I'm a drummer more than I'm anything else. And if I were to learn how to play piano now, then it would just be like a hobby thing anyway. So I would much rather spend my time, again, like I said, like talking to more people and trying to build my different channels and trying to get my own songs out there and help other bands getting their songs out there as well. Look, it's probably a good time to wrap up as well, man. We've actually been talking for just over 2 hours now, and it's been a while. I can see like it's like the sun has started to set. I can see it's all dark in my room now. I can see it's dark at Henrik's place as well. So, but man, like it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I'm really happy how the whole conversation developed, and it's like really glad to hear your story and your insights and some of the more personal anecdotes that we touched on as well. Have you got any final last words? Have you got anything else we need to finish off on before I can get Andrew to maybe share all the socials and where people should go and check you guys out as well?
Yeah, I guess we're gonna share with you some of the plans that we had. So again, we just released our latest single called Pain. It was a song that we wrote, Martin and I wrote in 2016, and then when we came into Faspitch, our old bandmates were generous enough to lend us a song or give us a song for Faspitch. So we used that. So now we're currently promoting that single. So a few days ago, we just released the music video for that, and that was fully produced by Tower of Doom. And the awesome output of that was really because of their team. That's 100% Tower of Doom. To be honest with you, that music video, we never saw the final cut of that. We only watched that video once.
Really?
Yeah.
We had no say whatsoever in how it's gonna come out, but
it looks awesome, man. It's so cool how it's done, man. I love those slow mo.
We trusted them 100%.
I love those slow mo shots, you know, especially where the guitar and it comes down and hits some of the riffs and the simple hit here and there, man. Yeah, so it looks really cool, man.
Yeah. You know, because when we first started with our first album, our second album, I always wanted to do music videos, and like the whole band was like, oh, you know, let's do music videos, because back then there wasn't any YouTube or anything. It was all just like MTV or Channel V or whatever, and that's really how your band. That's sort of like a gauge of if your band was successful or not, is if you had music videos. Yeah. And so I always wanted to have music videos, and then I guess I could say that we didn't have as many music videos as I would have liked. And so going into this new project, continuing what Faspitch is doing, I told the guys, let's do a music video for every song we release.
Yes. So, let's catch up on lost time.
and thankfully, because Tower of Doom is going into the whole Tower of Doom thing, they were very upfront with us, and they said, you know, as you know, the tendency is as rockers, as sort of underground music people, you know, we want to put out albums, and that's really sort of that's still in our DNA. You know, we want to put out albums, but because we kind of have to adapt to the changing times, and we want to build a new audience for you guys. Let's do something new and different. Let's try and replicate what the pop industry, you know, what sort of the more mainstream industry is doing, which is singles, and it kind of holds more attention. You gain followers a bit more, I guess. So it's a new strategy compared to how things were done before.
Yep.
And so we were open to it, and we still are, and we're happy with the way things are going. We like the single strategy, and and the single strategy is good because it allows us to pick and choose. We decide, which songs we want to release, and it allows us to do videos for every single one, because a single is important. You want it to be front and center. You want the marketing
Sorry
for
about
it
that.
to be top notch. Hey, John. And but the album is still in the back of our minds, and once we do have a sufficient body of work, there is a large possibility that we'll still release an album out of all the singles that we created with Tower of Doom.
Absolutely.
But going back to the videos, it's nice that we're doing the singles because we get to do all the music videos. We get to focus on the marketing for each video. And another thing that we did this time around that we weren't able to do so much before was me and Russell, and also with the rest of the guys, we talked with the rest of the guys and our management, was we wanted to create a body of work, so to speak. So instead of just sort of songs coming out at random because these are the songs we made.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No.
Got
Oh
cut.
no.
I don't want
Henry.
each
Captain.
to each other. We have a net and
Oh, Henry.
no. Hello.
Henry, we lost you there, Henry.
We need to
So-
create a body of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to create we wanted to create
Work. A concept. There was a concept
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, let's catch on what
yeah.
Henry was saying.
Not just songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I back?
Oh no. Someone is streaming
go.
Netflix in the background or something.
So all of our songs have a story, and they interconnect, from Skin to the feature releases that we're having. Each of them has a backstory.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are actually connected to the story of what Henry was sharing with us about his dark times. So Pain is a representation of his dark times. That's why the music video is very dark.
Yeah.
It's all about sadness, and you can actually see it from the lyrics. That it's like Henry talking to you from his dark side. And as we progress as a band, you'll see the progression of the music as well, and the story. Hopefully, in the next release, you'll see what happens, and the next chapter, and in Henry's journey. And we're all excited to get that one out. Hopefully, fingers crossed, within the year as well.
Awesome, man. That might be a really good way to sort of finish off on, because that's all. It's almost like a little cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess to everyone who's been following our new songs, and who have been very curious as to why our last three songs are quite different in terms of tone. It's because there is a story, and I guess everyone will just have to wait for what's the mood and what's the sound of the new song that we're gonna release next. Because I'm telling you guys that it's gonna be very different.
Yeah, awesome, man. So where should people go and sort of connect with you guys? So if you could drop your social links, like drop the Facebook and Instagram, YouTube and stuff, because you're represented on quite a few platforms.
Yeah. Mainly we're active on Instagram and Facebook. We value our fans a lot, and you can feel free to send us messages. We'll try to get back to every comment that comes in. But yeah, we're mainly active on those two channels. We also have YouTube that we're starting to grow. You will see most of the quarantine materials that we've released on that YouTube channel. So on Instagram and on Twitter, you can follow us at Faspitch Official. We'll be posting that one in this episode as well, in the detail section, comment section. Yeah. there you go.
Fantastic. Well, I'll drop links to all of it in the show notes anyway. By the time the episode are up, it's just if there's people only listening to the audio, then they can just make sure. Well, I suppose really just search for you guys online and it'll pop up. So Faspitch, and that's it, man. Awesome, man. Guys, it's been, like I said, absolute pleasure. I'm so happy we had this conversation, and thank you so much for taking out almost 2.5 hours of your time on a Saturday.
Thank you so much for this time. We're honored.
Cheers. Thank you, man.
Thank you guys as well, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.